Most famous for his delusional thrillers, Alfred Hitchcock's title is actually The Master of Suspense. Born in Leytonstone, England on August 13, 1899, Hitchcock grew up as the son of a greengrocer. He became a genius in the directing world due to his inspirations from classic bedtime tales such as Hansel and Gretel and The Little Red Riding Hood. He had spinster aunts who were the basis for so many plain-spoken Janes in his films. Some themes common to his productions include mirage as opposed to actuality and false identity, sometimes through mental disorders. His goal, to mess with the audience's mind, is achieved through his use of elements, such as the cast, music, and setting, to transform the atmosphere into something surreal and nightmarish. This earns him a place in the history of the horror film as the true master of suspense. Hitchcock began with silent films that evolved into his most suspenseful, nail-biting horror movies. Since his first movie in 1922, number 13, Hitchcock has been a pioneer in horror stories and a complete success. Following number 13 in 1926, The Lodger was a silent film based on the Jack the Ripper killings in which a man murders young women on the streets of London. Examples of his most well-known are Psycho, The Birds, and Rear Window. Psycho, a 1960 film, is about a mentally unsound hotel manager who has a disturbing flair for taxidermy. Having two personalities, he showcases Hitchcock's spontaneous twists that he places in his films. And of course, we cannot forget the infamous shower scene in which the jealous motherly figure reveals herself to murder a guest at the hotel, thus pulling the audience to the edge of their seats. Horror movie lists have always been topped by Hitchcock's thriller Psycho. Another of his films, The Birds, was actually based off of a short story by Daphne du Maurier. Hitchcock's use and lack of sound in this film is considered to add exponentially to the suspense he so masterfully creates. Hitchcock's revolutionary techniques have been influential to many directors. He established a school of directing so his concepts could be used in the future by others once he was gone. Some of his co-scripters went on to become directors, and the work has been described as recalling vintage Hitchcock. It is obvious some of today's new releases have been definitely influenced by his masterpieces. One such is Disturbia, which is a rendition of Rear Window brought into the 21st century. Another is Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a Hitchcock original in 1941 and recreated in 2005 by director Doug Liman. Before Hitchcock, the horror genre consisted of monster movies like Frankenstein and The Blob. New horror movies mostly consist of gore or surprises and seem to be made to disgust the audience and make them jump out of their seats, rather than mentally torture them, as Hitchcock's creations do. He presented the world with a whole new perspective of terror. Hitchcock has been a motivation for present-day and future directors and a father to the horror genre of films. He is considered by some to be the best filmmaker of all time for the reason that his films, decades after their creation, still draws audiences to the theater.